The Canadian Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Nord, for 5 minutes or less.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Vice Chairs and committee members, fellow panelists. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and make an appearance this afternoon. I'm speaking to you from Ottawa, the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. I go by the pronouns she, her, elle, and today I'm wearing a white blouse, a blue blazer, a green scarf, and am working from my home office. I am speaking on behalf of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, which is Canada's voice of business. We represent 200,000 businesses across the country, across sectors and across sizes, including a network of 450 local chambers and boards of trade from coast to coast to coast. I am the Canadian Chamber Policy Lead on Workforce Strategies and Inclusive Growth. This includes our work with the Council for Women's Advocacy and our BIPOC Leadership and Inclusion Council. We are all aware of the labor shortages in this country. There are currently an unprecedented 1 million job vacancies in Canada. Vacancies in healthcare, construction, manufacturing, accommodation, and food services, along with retail trade, are currently leading the way. Yet we have shortages across sectors, communities, and regions, and affecting every size of business. I'm able to say, thanks to reports like those from Monsieur Couleuru, that businesses, including small businesses, are citing labor shortage as one of their most, if not their most significant, barriers to economic growth. I can also tell you, for example, that between now and 2030, construction employment is expected to rise by 65,000 workers. I can tell you that in the residential construction sector, that between now and 2030, approximately 620,000 workers are needed, and calculating retirements versus new entrants, there'll be an expected gap or need of 40,000 workers. I can tell you the age distribution of the construction workforce. I can tell you how many women, Indigenous peoples, and new Canadians work in the trade. I can actually even break these numbers down by jurisdiction. What I can't do, for example, is the same for the childcare and early learning professions. How many are currently employed in Canada? Where are they employed? How many are needed in the coming years, especially in light of new federal investments? I can't turn to a sector association, a professional association, or an employment table, and I can't even look to StatsCan data. Therefore, our first and overarching recommendation is for labor market information and analysis, demand-side workforce planning for key professions and sectors in the care economy. The federal government can and should play a leadership role in facilitating, convening, and funding these efforts. I also referred earlier to the Canadian Chamber's Council for Women's Advocacy. It was established in January 2020 as part of our Inclusive Growth campaign and currently consists of a 15-member executive table. We were initially headed down one pathway of focus before the pandemic, but as with so much else, all changed with the pandemic and our focus has shifted and we've pivoted as well. Through the 24 months of the pandemic, we have tracked the disproportional effect of the pandemic that it has had on women in the workforce. This is both as employers, business owners, and female entrepreneurs, as well as employees. We have also differentiated between women in the care-exposed economy versus those in the remote or work-from-home economy. Although there are challenges and significant ones for women in each, we have acknowledged that women in the care and exposed economies have been particularly burdened and that they are among the most marginalized. Further, we have underscored that childcare and early learning is an economic and not a women's issues. It is one of three pillars of recommendations we have made to the federal government. And one of our recommendations within this is, and I quote, ensure that there is an ample and diverse workforce of childcare providers across the country by enabling remote learning for potential childcare provider certification in rural areas, providing more money to increase access to early childhood education programs, and facilitating labor mobility and certification across domestic and international borders. We have likened childcare and early learning to social infrastructure. And just like traditional infrastructure, like a bridge or a road, it will not materialize without a labor force to build and maintain it. We need an ample, diverse, qualified, and motivated workforce throughout the care economy. and a dynamic ecosystem that supports it in order to ensure an inclusive recovery and economic growth that's necessary for this country. I have a lot more to say on the care economy, temporary foreign workers, FQR, procurement and diversity policies, but I will leave it there and
Good.
look
You
forward
may
to
be
your
able to get to
questions.
those.
Thank you.
Yes, Madam
Yeah.
Nord, in some of your answers.